guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the first book in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Brashares. This is a 2000s-esque contemporary that's very, very old. It was a book that I remember so many of my friends reading when I was in like late elementary, early middle school, and it was really beloved. The movie I heard was really beloved as well, but I gotta say, I was less than impressed with this story, and I will explain why. So first things first, this story deals with four best friends who find this random pair of pants in a thrift store that somehow is able to fit every single one of them, including the one who has larger hips in this friend group. And because of this, they decide to use these pants as a way to stay in touch over the summer, as this is their first summer being completely apart, as one girl, Carmen, is going down to South Carolina to visit her father, who has been estranged from her for many years. One girl, Lena, is going off to Greece with her younger sister Effie to go visit her Grecian grandparents. One girl named Bridget is going off to Baja California for a soccer camp, and then the fourth girl, Tibby, is actually staying at home as she has to help take care of her younger siblings and has a summer job. So this book was really, really disappointing for many reasons. So first thing is that this storyline was disorganized. There were so many changes in perspective that were so disorganized. It felt like you were jumping from girl to girl for no reason, and there were no clear transitions between characters, and sometimes you would go for a good long while without seeing one girl, and so you'd have to go back and reread what you read before on this girl to catch up with what the story was talking about. I don't like the way this story was written. I truly don't. There weren't even actual chapters involved with the story, and I think that if this book was to be rewritten, it definitely would need to be, for one. And if it is, it's going to have chapters and sections for each girl. Personally, I think this book would work way better if there were individual sections of the book dedicated to each girl's individual perspective. So you'd have 4 sections of the book, each one for each individual girl. So a section for Carmen, for Bridget, Lena, and Tibby. And that would have worked way better, because then the pieces of this story would have come together a lot nicer and actually would have flowed a lot better than it actually did. This book also does not age well because a lot of the references are dated, and this book is truly a 2000s contemporary because all 4 of these girls are absolutely contrived. They are so self-absorbed and so distraught over the stupidest things in my mind. I feel like contemporaries honestly have come a long way since the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and for good reason, because every single one of these girls infuriated me with their stupid antics and the fact that they were so self-centered and self-absorbed to where they were just sickening. Now, keep in mind, teenagers, they are self-absorbed and they do have very self-centered moments, but not to the extent of these girls. These girls were absolutely awful. They didn't even begin to understand how they were wrong in their self-centeredness most of the time. The only one I think that actually had any growth was Tibby, and that's because of a character she comes across who has cancer, and so she learns to be a better friend because of this girl, and that's pretty much the only growth you see. The rest of them are just acting stupid to be stupid, basically, and they are stubborn to where they don't want to change their ways, whereas I feel like teenagers now are a lot better about that, and that's saying a lot considering that a lot of this generation's teenagers do a lot of stupid shit. They have 2 different complexes going on. They have the woe is me complex, everything is falling under the sky and I'm gonna die, and they also have the this boy doesn't love me, so I'm gonna end acting like it's the end of the world complex. The thing that I think irritated me the most about this book is that there were so many important topics that were glossed over in favor for things that would have gotten more emotion from a reader. For instance, a perfect example of this is that there is a mother involved with this story that you find out passed away before the story starts, and you find out that she had depression, and it is assumed throughout the story that she may have committed suicide. It's never really said whether or not that's actually what happened, but you kind of make that assumption as you read, considering the way that they discuss how she was and the way that the daughter does not like to talk about what happened to her mother. So it's assumed that she committed suicide. that is completely glossed over in favor of the character that has cancer. Now, that's not to say that, you know, characters with cancer shouldn't have their moments, because that is still a really hard illness to deal with, especially with, you know, individuals who are very young. But I don't like the fact that you're using something that is more emotional in favor of glossing over something that is still equally as important as depression. It made me really upset, basically. So with the idea of the magical pants, there is an idea of magical realism that is played within the story, as the pants somehow magically fit all four of these girls, including Carmen, who is a Puerto Rican young woman who has a little bit more of a voluptuous body than the other three girls. And it's got, like I said, a little bit of magical realism to it, but that's the extent of it. It doesn't really go much more into that, and I wish that there would have been maybe something more involved with the magical realism. Their pants themselves seem to be kind of like, not exactly good luck charms, but they definitely carry a story within this story, and I wish that they kind of would have been implemented more, maybe. I don't know. I feel like the magical realism was just lacking for what this story was supposed to tell. It was basically enjoyable for the time that I read it. I did enjoy actually reading the entire thing, but really there were so many problems with it, and I think that this just a book that did not age well and is never going to age well. I do not think that this should be used as any kind of classic literature, because classic literature is something that is able to transcend over several different time periods, and this is not one of those books. This is not something that is going to be able to transcend over time, because it is dated, it is old, it is disgusting to read about some of these romances that are involved with it. It's not healthy. It's not a very healthy book to read, in my opinion. I would like to see, though, if the other three books in this series end up being any better, because although, like I said, it's not really any way that good, it's something still that is considered a classic part of contemporary literature for young adult, and so I'm interested to see if maybe the books ended up getting better. And I'm also interested to understand how there could have been 4 books in this series when this could have just ended right here. I'm just interested to see how Brashares ended up being able to extend into 4 books, because I don't feel like that would really be possible. So overall, I ended up giving The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Brashares a 2 out of 5 stars, and I really don't tend to give out 2 out of 5 stars or 1 out of 5 stars really often. It's very rare I will do that, other than for very specific reasons. It wasn't that good of a book. I don't understand how this has become so popular, but I think maybe during the time that it was popular, I would have understood it, but reading it in 2018 with a 2018 perspective, it's not that good. It's not something that I think that ages well. I don't feel like the characters are really relatable. It's just, it's not really that interesting anymore. But it was enjoyable to read. It was kind of cute and fluffy, but wasn't really that interesting, to be honest. Wasn't really a lot to it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me in this review of The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.